Greetings, fellow humans. I am Hugh.
And I am Man.
And together we are definitely not two kobolds in a trench coat. We enjoy human activities, such as paying taxes,
having existential crises,
and RPG horror stories. Let's see what we've got today.
Today, we have a player who tries to impress his crush by role-playing a certain fantasy that wasn't entirely consensual to try to save them.
Guy decides to impress me by role-playing his essay Saviour fantasy by Reddit user Bitter Ritter. Hi, I have ADHD and my writing is kinda long and chases rabbits, so just a heads up before getting in that it's a bit all over the place. So, this all starts in my in-laws board game TTRPG store. They have a small one where plenty of people come to run various games, and there's some scheduled ones that the store itself runs. We have plenty ran, everything from D&D and Star Wars to Perils and Princesses and Monsters of the Week. I help at the store and play in some of these games, and currently I'm working up the courage to run my own game there, but oh boy, that's scary. Anyways, despite being small, we have a ban list. We didn't think we would, but after the first one, a valor thief mega racist who tried to make my in-laws pick between their trans child, aka my spouse, or him. Some sweaty ass misogynistic trash talker who liked starting fights but couldn't back it up. He was booted out. We quickly figured out we probably should start making a code of conduct and also, you know, have a ban list. Anyways, this isn't about the first guy, this is about the second guy. Now the second guy we'll call Kyle, because as much as I would absolutely use his name, I straight up forgot it. Teehee. He was a regular at the store who had problems. He was very, very bad socially. Even compared to others, even compared to me, autism and anxiety and ADHD ahoy. Got that AAA insurance. He was one of those vibes are off kind of dudes. Not in a, oh, he's dangerous and creepy kind of way, but a yikes, dude, can you not way. He would do the weird flirt but not flirt thing where he would talk himself up by putting others down, or say I worked too hard and would constantly invite me to games while I was, you know, volunteering at the store. He would do this while knowing I'm married and wearing a ring. He would ask weird questions about my spouse, down to their medical history, and trying to find out what they look like based on what I told him. He wanted in on my relationship. One of those, I wanna be the meat in a lesbian sandwich types.
I mean, I don't know why you don't think that's not creepy, dangerous, but okay. It just goes to show that no matter how small of an operation you are, it is always good to have a ban list and a code of conduct.
I can see where OP is kind of coming from. Some people like this, you know they're just creepy, but you're pretty sure they never actually got any follow through on dangerous actions. But that doesn't make their behavior any less disgusting or wrong.
Yeah, I think sometimes we have this idea that, oh, well, because this person isn't ever going to follow through, probably, that they're not dangerous. Just because you don't think they're going to follow through on it doesn't mean they're not going to. And when people start asking about medical history, I feel like that's where you start to go, maybe this person is not so harmless.
Kyle would harass people playing their own TTRPGs and tried frequently to weasel his way into games. I watched him one time walk up to one of the store benefactors, one of the owners, and straight up tell him his Star Wars character was all wrong and here's how he would do it, and that he was stupid and didn't know how to play. He talked at people, would come in and not buy anything, just mildly infuriate people. My in-laws would talk to him, gave him warnings, and they both have their own social and mental issues, so they were very patient and tried more guiding, gentle correction. He was very much one of those socially inept but makes it everyone else's problem types. I'm AFAB, 27. I'll very much admit I'm curvy. I get told a lot I'm cute, pretty, etc. I look like a girl. I sound like a girl. I probably smell like one. Thing is, I'm non-binary. I just kind of turn it off when I'm at the store because I just don't want to deal with correcting people and stuff all day. I don't want strangers to harass me for my gender. I just try to blip under the radar. I already got heat from the first guy for being a lesbo, so I just didn't want anything like that again. Really only my friends and family knew, but it's fine. But I've long accepted that as long as I work, volunteer in any form of retail, I'm getting hit on. During one of the Star Wars games, one of my friends who runs Vampire the Masquerade at the store for myself, my father-in-law and a good friend, mentioned they may be thinking of having one more space open so the game didn't grind to a halt when one player couldn't make it out. Kyle heard this and leapt on the DM, and the DM tentatively said yes. Fate sealed. I guess behind the scene, he and the other friend, the benefactor, in the game were maybe trying to help Kyle to socialise. They wanted to give him a chance. Game day comes, I find exactly who the new player is, and I sort of just accept something's gonna happen. But I did want to give him a shot. Who knew? The whole thing about the store is making friends. Hell, I assumed it was my anxiety just making me imagine warning signs.
So this is one of the interesting things that I've learned over time, and I think some other AFAB people have learned over time. We often are conditioned to give men the benefit of the doubt, even if they're being creepy and weird and making us uncomfortable, and we tell ourselves it's our anxiety, or they're really harmless, or what have you. And the reality is that because our society favors men, it just becomes one of those things that we tend towards giving them more grace than we probably should.
He comes in with his character that he rolled up at home, a super techie Nos with a boss who is an already established, very important character. That's fine, I guess, except he wants to make sure that this character is a very hot woman. Busty, bigger than him, mean, very mommy dom is what he specifically wanted. DM is like, I mean, she's just like that. She's a powerful vampire in charge of a huge section of the city you all live in. I'm pretty inexperienced with the game. I don't know any factions well other than my own. But my character was tall, black goth woman gangrel who was moody and had an affinity for rats for her special animal. I tried having like a connection with Kyle, saying like, oh, how funny you have a character that also has a rat connection. Tiffany also controls rats. I thought it would be fun in like urban environment vampire stuff. And he kind of just looked at me like he was upset that I also had rats. Okay, whatever. Benefactor friend couldn't make the game, father-in-law did, so we begin. I can already feel the bad energy. Our character are supposed to do the classic new character meet of Kyle's at a massive vampire nightclub. Music, lights, cage dancers, the works. My character is talking to father-in-laws, a vampire Roman Catholic priest, and instead of having any sort of like normal introduction to our characters, Kyle decides he's gonna be a creep. His character gets right up against mine, funny when she's 6'2" without her 4-inch stompers on, and was eavesdropping only on Tiffany. And then whispered in my ear to simulate his character whispering in Tiff's ear something pertaining to the current mystery. My character then turns and throws a blind haymaker, misses, and the father halts Nos and rips into him because, well, his character rolled before declaring he dodged me, but stopped dead in his tracks for the father. That's my actual father-in-law, and not only is that creepy, but the father is also very controlling and doesn't like people being creepy in his vicinity. After some back and forth, my character making it very clear she didn't like Nos, some more chatting about story stuff, we figured we need to talk to the owner of the vampire nightclub, the Baron, the hot vampire important character. The Nos decides the best way to do this as a weird way to win favour with me, I'm not stupid, is to look for people spiking drinks. He rolls first, says he's stupid high number, and declares what he's doing. The DM mentions the club has vampire security everywhere, and the place has a high reputation. But after continuous needling from Kyle, finally relents because DM is very non-confrontational. He makes up one single guy doing it. Kyle rolls and then declares he goes over and completely crushes the dude's hand and threatens him violently. In a vampire nightclub. Security gets him after he makes more and more threats. Then the Nos tells the girls he saved all about how he saved her. Then tells her somewhat graphically what the spiker was going to do, but that he saved her. Then told her that her drinks for the rest of the night were on him. Kyle seemed blindsided when DM had the victim say she was going to go find her friends and leave. He then insisted on buying her drinks after what happened. Girl said, I mean, after almost being drugged, I don't really want anything to drink. Nos then needled the fake girl he made up, getting date SA drugged until she accepted him buying her a cap. This whole show gained the attention of the Baron, who he finally got to talk to. The Baron is supposed to be scary. She's intimidating. She tortures lesser vampires to get intel. You know, Lesser vampires like us. You're supposed to treat her with respect and such. He instead badmouthed the club she owned, while at the same time claiming this was his boss, and immediately having simp behaviour towards her, who seemed utterly uninterested.
Couple things here. First of all, clearly this Kyle guy wants to be a very special snowflake. You have OP being like, oh cool, we're both into rats. And he's like, you're into rats too? Ugh. Like he could be the only one that was into rats? I don't know. There's just a lot of problematic behavior. Obviously trying to push the idea of somebody trying to put stuff into other people's drinks. It's just plain weird. Not gonna lie, and then making a point to be like, by the way, I saved you.
He very much went out of the way to insert that Saviour fantasy, despite the DM not really wanting to put it in. I mean, obviously role-playing games are often about being the hero, not making up your hero fantasies to impress someone at the table, especially when it comes to that.
Here's the thing with this whole idea that, oh, well, we can just get them to be socialized properly or help them socialize better. Because he had more like creepy behavior, he's not going to try to change his behavior. He's just going to be a menace in the game. And you see that where it's not like he's learning anything. He's just coming in and inserting his stuff all over the game, just wearing people down so that he gets his way.
The whole time, he and father-in-law, who later apologised, talked over me the whole game. The father being snappy to Nos saying some nonsense about some stupid, overly powerful connections he had, Nos not understanding that the characters were all supposed to be morally grey, but good in general. Nos taking over an entire building to be his tech lair that was supposed to be an unhoused person's shelter made by the father, and not their character. Something they had been doing since session 1, and setting it up with cameras everywhere, even the bathrooms, because you can't trust them all not to shoot up in the bathroom. I entirely shut down. The DM was too busy wrangling Nos and the father that I quit talking and it didn't matter. I went on my phone and quit interacting and no one even noticed. When game was called, I didn't say anything and left. Later I messaged the DM and told him that if Kyle was to keep playing, I wouldn't be there, and DM immediately agreed. Everyone talked sans Kyle, and when they gave Kyle the news he wasn't coming back to another game, he blew up the DM's phone asking why and what he did wrong, and when told, he just kept saying he didn't do anything bad and that he didn't understand. DM explained more, he didn't get it. He stopped an SA from happening. DM explained more, but I don't get why this is bad. The next day, he went to the store and began harassing father-in-law while he was at work, and did the same thing, asking why he was kicked from the game. Father-in-law explained it. DM happened to be in the store and in person explained it. He just couldn't fathom how self-inserting his fantasy, and how he would cheat by rolling first and claiming what he was doing and behaving inappropriately at the table wasn't acceptable. Finally, father-in-law got fed up and said he was banned and to go play somewhere else. They tried helping, and this was just the last straw. He was already on his 5th strike. Father-in-law and mother-in-law try really hard to give people a lot of chances, especially those that they see themselves in. But even they couldn't handle him anymore. I hope he's doing better. I hope he also never talks to me again.
You know, I didn't think it could actually get worse, but somehow it got worse. Literally taking over a homeless shelter and then saying really horrible things about homeless people and just generally bullying a china shop his way through. I believe this was one session, correct?
Yeah, just the one.
That's a lot of damage to do in one session. Oh my goodness. And then to be told, this is what you did wrong. And he's like, I don't get it. Why is that bad?
I can understand why OP and father-in-law, other people in the store had sympathies for him initially. We all want to help the socially awkward person get more integrated. Quite often it is just that, they're socially awkward, and that's always greatly appreciated by the socially awkward people. It's often what they need. This guy wasn't just socially awkward, he was a persistent creep who didn't even want to try to understand.
Yeah, there's socially awkward and then there's socially awkward creep. And in my experience, socially awkward you can work with. Socially awkward creep you can't work with. And this guy was the latter.
I think if he quickly understood what he did wrong, then potentially redeemable. But given that he just dug his heels in and doubled down, says that he probably is the creep rather than just socially awkward.
I sort of get the feeling from this guy that it wasn't even that he didn't understand. It's more like he just didn't want to understand because he didn't want to think that he was somehow in the wrong because he wanted to be the hero. Hey, Hugh.
Yes, man?
What do you call an entire party of rogues?
I don't know. What do you call them?
A surprise party.
And with that, we have definitely not been two kobolds in a trench coat. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and make the necessary sacrifices to Tiamat. We'll see you next time.